Ingeborg Bachmann says fascism begins in the relationship between two people. This was a sentence I repeated for many years, but no, I think so anymore. Fascism is revealed, reinforced and developed in the relationship between two people. But the place where it starts is the family. It's there that one first encounters the other. The wounds deep enough in all of us to surrender to the filthy darkness of fascism are opened in that family. If there is a potential fascist individual who is today's nationalist, what exactly is they like? What are the organized forces with such a person? This question led Adorno to work on the authoritarian personality. How do people form who become fascists in response to specific events and issues, and who, as a result of these events, follow a fascist leader and who, moreover, consider themselves natural, justified and normal? Members of the Frankfurt Institute for Social Research who left Nazi Germany and settled in the United States published 5 volumes of books under the general title Studies on Prejudice, which they conducted with other scientists. The 3rd volume, The Authoritarian Personality, was pioneered by Adorno. It was published in 1950 and still sheds light on the forces within the potential fascist character today. Adorno investigated why individuals in contemporary societies are prone to anti-democratic fascist propaganda. He tried to analyze the human character that potentially harbors fascist tendencies, which he defined as authoritarian personality. Based on Freud's psychoanalytic theory, Adorno studied middle-class individuals. According to Adorno, the authoritarian character emerges as a continuation of the Oedipus complex in childhood. In childhood, the tendency to submit to family authority emerges as a result of the subconscious pushing of sexual love for the mother into the subconscious on the one hand and the suppression of anger towards the parents on the other. At later age, the individual who can no longer find real authority in their family turns to an external power to integrate their personality. Authoritarian personality rises based on the weakness of the ego. The more primitive the authoritarian's rigid formulas are, the more appealing they sound, largely due to their stereotypes. However, this appeal is also significantly influenced by the ignorance of the public. Authoritarian rhetoric simplifies complex issues, making them seem understandable to those lacking in knowledge. This lack of knowledge prevents them from questioning the rhetoric, creating a cycle of ignorance. A rigidity combined with an instinct for aberration and a tendency to obey authority is the characteristic of the authoritarian personality. This typology seeks security and escapes the responsibility of freedom. According to Adorno, this type of individual finds fulfillment and relief through submission and by trying to destroy the weak. People who believes embody qualities he cannot tolerate. Adorno argues that the authoritarian personality is characteristic of the middle classes. This phenomenon stems from conditions such as the rapid change in the family structure, the disintegration of petty bourgeoisie, property relations, and the inability to attain the desired social status, all of which highlight the need for social stability and support. The rise of new forms of fascism may be due to these conditions, especially today. An authoritarian personality is a sign of powerlessness. He worships the ideals he sees as authoritative, and the representatives of these ideals are like his gods. He cannot question the people he sees as authorities and defies. He is disappointed, and his selfish self is uncomfortable with his societal position. He is in a position he doesn't deserve. He deserves much more than where he is. These frustrations may be one factor that raises fascism in the world today. The desire to dominate and control people perceived as powerless indicates the insecurity and powerlessness of the authoritarian personality. The inability to achieve the goals learned and idealized through biopolitical conditions and the shattering of dreams of growth within the economy's gears lead to sadomasochistic tendencies. These sadomasochistic tendencies manifest as hatred towards marginalized peoples. Political parties feed on this hatred and direct their propaganda. Accordingly, hundreds of thousands of people who are far from books, unable to access accurate information and acting on cliché dogmas, find themselves in dark nationalism based on empty myths. The authoritarian personality cannot see its ignorance, and even if it does, it defends what it has heard to the end and learns very slowly because it's close to discussion. It is these characters that are the real threat to democracy. The authoritarian personality pursues the cult of the leader and idolizes the leader. He seems motivated to see himself as a perfect human with no problems. The leader he pursues and cannot break away from is not a human being. He is a superhero who never makes mistakes, has no psychological problems, and has infinite intelligence. In countries like Turkey, where there are numerous characters, the ruling minority is fortunate. They can remain in government for years by relying on fundamental values and manufactured history, large blocks of meaning, interpretations of religion and nationalism. Geographies that are close to democracy and dominated by power-worshipping authoritarian personalities are doomed to be exploited and underdeveloped. The following statements of Nazım Hikmet, a poet who has written his name in golden letters in world poetry, describe very well what an authoritarian personality is. Let us be inspired by the statements as we watch the end of those who follow fascism. They are cowards, brave, ignorant, righteous, and children. When they surrender to the darkness, they leave behind a world in ruins, like the toys they have rudely destroyed.